What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Michael, and today I'm going to bring you another review, and we're going to be talking about Don't Worry Darling. And this movie was trash! And I'm going to give you my brief review in the beginning, and towards the end of the video I'm going to go ahead and get into spoiler discussion and talk about what I didn't like about the movie. If you haven't seen Don't Worry Darling, then don't worry darling, because I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before we get into that guys, make sure you subscribe and smash and punch that like button, because the algorithm seems to like when you do that sort of thing. You got to abuse that like button, baby. And if you do, that's going to help my video get pushed out to more people, and I'm going to be bringing in that YouTube money, baby. Money, money, money. All right, so let's set the stage. This movie is wrapped in controversy. Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be the star of the movie. He was so toxic on set that Olivia Wilde fired him because he was disturbing Florence Pugh, and it was just this huge thing. But come to find out, Shia LaBeouf told John Bernthal on his podcast that he wasn't fired. He actually quit and walked away. Proof, Olivia Wilde left voice messages and text messages for him. She wanted him to come back, but for some reason she told the public he was fired for being toxic and crazy on set. Even Florence Pugh wanted him to come back. There's all this messages that she wanted to work it out, and they were better fit together, and she was actually more uncomfortable with Harry Styles. So it was just a huge clusterfuck. And then, as most of you have heard, Harry Styles went on to spit on my boy Chris Pine. And it was all over TikTok. Everybody saw it, and they were trying to decipher what happened, and there was all this investigation, and it was just a huge mess. In the 1950s, Alice and Jack live in an idealized, perfectly manicured community. The husbands leave for work every day on a top secret project. The wives get to enjoy the beauty and the luxury and the debauchery of their seemingly perfect paradise. However, when the cracks in their life begin to appear, exposing flashes of something sinister lurking beneath the surface, Alice can't help but question exactly what she was doing in this town. This movie had a great cast. You had Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, and Nick Kroll. And I liked the first 20 minutes of this movie. It felt like a Goodfellas movie. It had all of these 50s love songs. It was fast paced. The camera was panning around everybody, all the actors, and it felt really fun. I enjoyed the classic utopia feel. I liked how the wives would all hang out by the pool and they would drink and relax, while all the men would go to work at the same place, and they worked for this man named Frank, who is Chris Pine's character, and he was like the visionary leader, and it was like this futuristic, utopian, experimental community. That's the weird thing about this community, is that everybody's so happy, and all the wives are dusting and cleaning and vacuuming. Jack comes home from work and he's in his great suit, and Florence Pugh is waiting for him. She made him steak and asparagus. She has a drink ready for him, and it's just so perfect that it's kind of disturbing. The cinematography was really interesting, and it kind of makes you unsettled, and that's the way I like it. The set design too was really awesome. I love the world they created. I also love the soundtrack of the late 50s. It keeps the movie driving forward, and it's got a lot of really good hits that you'll recognize. But damn it! The movie was too long. The one direction that they were going in did not require 2 hours and 3 minutes. It really could have shaved it down to like an hour and 45 minutes. I really believe it would have been a lot better. Which brings me to my second complaint, and that is the big reveal, the mystery, the twist was really, really cheap. I sat there in the theater and I was actually beyond disappointed. There was so much set up by the third act that it was just so disappointing on what they were building up to. And by the way, what was the point of Chris Pine's character? They set up characters that I actually cared about, and then nothing came of it. I'm like, what happened to him? What happened to her? Or why were they doing this in the first place? They set up like an hour and a half of the movie building something, and I thought it was going to go in a complete different direction, and they just ran out of gas. I was totally invested in these characters, and it turned into a little wet fart. So with all that said, guys, I hate to say it, but I'm going to give Don't Worry Darling a D. You blew it! The first two acts were interesting, but it just lacked commitment, and it just didn't get me there. It was a big ass cock tease. Alright guys, so final warning, if you haven't seen Don't Worry Darling, then go to the theaters right now, come back, and watch me tear it apart. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So this movie is like 2 hours and 3 minutes long, and for like 80% of the movie, Florence Pugh, my angel, my darling, my baby, she was crying for like 80% of the movie. And this movie began to drink a little too much of its own Kool-Aid. It was showing the same artsy-fartsy scenes over and over again. And I'm like, we get it. You're freaking weird. We get it. And the biggest letdown of all was the men's job and the whole thing with Frank. I thought they were doing something special and doing something really weird, and the wives weren't supposed to know about it, but all they were doing was wasting my time. In the movie, the world was shaking and tremoring, and the glasses were shaking and everything, so I thought the men were building a spaceship, or they were doing underground facilities, or they were on Mars in a bubble, or they were doing clones or something. Everything I just listed is far more interesting than what we were given. But what did you think about the reveal that they were living inside the dollar store version of the female Matrix? And then I was watching this movie and I was like, what is this movie trying to tell us? What are we going to walk away with? What's the messaging here? And the messaging here is that as men, we don't want our wives to be career oriented. We don't want them to be nurses or doctors. We want them to be trapped at home, vacuuming and cleaning and doing random house chores and getting dressed and all beautiful and making us dinner. And that was the message. Is that really what men want? And also, as men, we have all kinds of secrets and we keep our wives in the dark. If they don't comply, then we're going to send them to the doctor so they can get prescription drugs and leave us alone. And then in real life, Alice was like a medical doctor and she was always exhausted and she had long hours and she had a crazy life and she was so tired that when she went home to Jack that she was just ready to go to bed, and they had a very, very horrible little relationship. And they also lived in a shithole, and that's kind of weird if you're a medical doctor, especially in the hospital setting. What I didn't understand was that, did Harry Styles put those things on her eyes, you know, the Clockwork Orange things when she went to bed? Or did he kind of force that upon her? How did that work? How were they both living in this world and she was kind of forced to be here without her consent? Like, why couldn't he just tell her, hey, let's go to our little fantasy world to be husband and wives and everything's perfect, the air is clean, and we have great friends and we have a great job? Why couldn't he just tell her, like, here's the plan? Why did it have to be kept a secret? And why did he have to force this medical doctor to go into fantasy world? It just didn't make any fucking sense. The whole movie, I was actually getting kind of hungry because all she would make is steak and bacon and eggs. And I was like, this life is amazing. Why would you leave? Why would you leave? There's also one super cringy moment that just stands out beyond the rest. Okay, and that's Harry Styles dancing on stage, and Chris Pine is telling him, dance, boy, dance, dance, and he's doing this horrible dance number. Why were you dancing like that? Okay, and the soundtrack was really good. Okay, the 50s music was really good, but during the movie they had like this Squid Games lady singing all this weird little, and it was just unwarranted. That kind of music didn't match the level on this movie. This movie was not insidious enough at all. And just like the whole desert scenario, you know, when you see something like that, you think of Area 51, or you think of mysterious caves or something like that. And it was just like a huge letdown. The headquarters thing was stupid. All she had to do was touch the headquarters glass and she would go back to real world. So it was just kind of dumb. Like, why? I'm like, again, why couldn't Harry Styles just tell her the truth? Like, just stay home. Don't go to the movies and watch this. I'm trying to help you save some money. Even the themes and the messages here are fucking dumb. Like, all the white men are gonna suppress you and make you stay home and have kids and home cooked meals and sit at the dinner table together and have lots of sex. And you know what? That doesn't sound bad at all. But the question is for you guys, did you like this movie? Was it entertaining? Did it meet your expectations, or was it just a huge steaming pile of shit? Well, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Sorry about this upstate review, but the trailer got me too hyped for it. Stay healthy, guys. Take care of yourself. God bless, and we will see you on the next one.